Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this, because today we are unpacking the really foundational teachings of entrepreneur and author Robert Kiyosaki. We're talking about his radical philosophy on how to completely shift your mindset away from just depending on a paycheck and moving toward true, lasting wealth building. You know, if you followed that traditional advice, go to school, get a safe job, save your pennies, and you still feel totally stuck, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to rethink pretty much everything you know about wealth.
So why do the rich seemingly get richer while the middle class just keeps getting wiped out? It's kind of the ultimate question, isn't it? Well, according to Kiyosaki, the answer is that we're facing a serious economic decline, but people are just clinging so tightly to outdated ideas. I mean, think about it. Our traditional education system is fundamentally failing us because it doesn't teach financial literacy at all. It basically just prepares people to be employees in a world where, let's face it, job security is rapidly vanishing.
To really grasp the stakes here, we have to look at Kiyosaki's view of our completely broken financial system. He literally argues that the world is in trouble because of what he calls fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets. Right now, the Federal Reserve and Wall Street are just printing trillions of dollars. And when the government prints money like that, it effectively devalues every single dollar you've diligently saved. It's like this hidden tax of inflation. You're literally losing wealth just by holding on to paper money in a savings account.
And that brings us to a core contrast in his whole philosophy, which is represented by two different father figures. On the one hand, we have the traditional poor dad path. This is the highly educated person who believes, go to school, get a safe job, save your dollars, and live below your means. But that usually just results in using debt to buy liabilities, like a personal house or a car that constantly drain your pocket. On the flip side, we have the rich dad method. This path prioritizes financial education, acquiring real businesses, and actually, here's the real kicker, using debt to buy income-producing assets. In fact, Kiyosaki points out that he built his own immense wealth exactly this way, by using debt to acquire real estate.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how this fundamental difference is mapped out in the cash flow quadrant. Basically, the business world is split into 4 distinct zones. Over on the left side, you've got E for employee and S for specialist, or a small business owner. So think doctors or lawyers. Kiyosaki warns that this left side is actually a massive trap of false job security, and it's exactly where people are currently getting wiped out. True wealth, true freedom, that's generated on the right side of the quadrant. B for big business owners and I for investors. You really want to shift your entire life to the right side of this board, and here's a massive reason why.
40 to 60%. Let that sink in. That is the massive tax burden shouldered by those stuck on the left side of the quadrant, the employees and specialists. For people who simply go to work for a regular paycheck, taxes are hands down their single largest expense. You do all the work, you make the money, and a massive chunk goes straight to the government.
But look at the stark contrast on the right side. Business owners and investors legally pay anywhere from 20% down to 0% in taxes. Yes, literally 0%. And this isn't some shady back alley loophole. It's exactly how the tax code is written. It's literally designed to incentivize housing and business creation. This legal tax bypass is the mechanical secret behind exactly why the rich keep getting richer while the middle class just gets continuously squeezed. So the crucial point is that this completely changes the entire definition of an asset. In Kiyosaki's world, an asset isn't just something you own. It's simply an investment that puts cash flow directly into your pocket every single month. To give you an idea, he owns about 7,000 rental units. Yeah, 7,000. He acquired them using debt. The rental income pays off that debt and puts money in his pocket, and thanks to accounting rules and tax laws, he legally bypasses taxes on that income. Those 7,000 units completely eliminate his need to ever have a traditional job.
Because he views the current system as fundamentally broken and frankly doesn't trust the US dollar or traditional Wall Street paper assets like stocks and mutual funds, his strategy relies heavily on holding real, hard commodities. Specifically, he focuses on physical and digital commodities, gold, silver, and Bitcoin. To him, these are the real assets. They hold their value over time, and they serve as a sort of survival mechanism against an inflating, devaluing currency.
But acquiring these kinds of assets requires a complete shift in mindset. Kiyosaki says that a coin doesn't just have 2 sides, it actually has 3: heads, tails, and the edge. True intelligence is having the objectivity to stand right on the edge of the coin and see both sides at the exact same time. He really stresses the importance of this objectivity in all areas of business.
He even notes his past collaborations on educational books with highly polarizing figures, like Donald Trump. And his point here is strictly about mindset. You have to look beyond personal anger, hatred, or fear. When everyone else is blinded by emotion, standing on the edge of the coin is what allows you to see the opportunities they're completely missing.
To achieve that kind of clarity, you need to develop what he calls all four intelligences. You see, traditional schools only teach the first one, mental intelligence. They demand you get the right answers, and they severely punish mistakes, which actually instills this really deep-seated fear of failure. That fear completely paralyzes your emotional intelligence. But to be a successful entrepreneur, you also need physical intelligence to actually execute, and above all, you need spiritual intelligence.
To really understand how these four intelligences work together, we have to look at a moment of extreme pressure. During the Vietnam War, Kiyosaki was a Marine Corps gunship pilot. One day, flying along at 1,500 feet, his gauge suddenly flickered and his engine completely died. Mayday! The aircraft dropped like a stone. In less than a minute, they could all be dead. This was the ultimate life-or-death test of all four intelligences, all firing simultaneously.
And this brilliantly illustrates where training overrides human nature. I mean, the emotionally weak reaction when an aircraft is falling out of the sky is to panic and pull the flight stick back, which in a helicopter is a guaranteed death sentence. Instead, his emotional intelligence overrode that paralyzing fear. His mental and physical intelligence kicked in automatically. As the crew frantically jettisoned ammunition, he executed his exact training. Power down, push the nose forward to maintain forward momentum, staring straight down into the water rushing up at them.
As they plummeted, the noise just stopped. It became eerily quiet. There was no engine sound, just the silent rushing of air. He describes this moment as deeply spiritual. There was absolutely no fear, just this intense present focus as the unpowered, incredibly heavy aircraft leveled out, silently gliding just inches above the ocean waves.
Then, at the very last possible second, right as they completely ran out of airspeed, the final physical execution was required. He violently pulled the stick back to pitch the nose up. The aircraft stalled perfectly and sank into the water. The main rotor blade violently smashed into the ocean surface, instantly tearing the entire transmission right off the sinking aircraft.
And because of that absolute precision under truly unimaginable pressure, the aircraft rolled and all 5 crew members managed to escape the wreckage. They were all rescued hours later. They survived exclusively because their mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual training allowed them to perform when failure literally meant death.
Let's move to my Daisha and see how this builds on what we face in the broader economy. You might not be dodging the ocean in a falling helicopter anytime soon, but the economy will test your intelligences just as ruthlessly. Listen, when a business fails, you take a hit. But having the spiritual intelligence to stand back up, learn from it, and push forward, that is what makes you smarter and stronger. It's exactly how the little entrepreneur can take on massive corporations. You are David, they are Goliath, and your slingshot is financial knowledge.
And honestly, you are going to need that slingshot because of how markets actually move. There's this old investor proverb, the bull goes up the stairs and the bear goes out the window. Basically, this means economies build wealth slowly, step by step, over years and years. But when a market crashes, it plummets straight out the window, wiping people out in an absolute instant. And Kiyosaki firmly believes we are teetering right on the edge of a massive economic window right now.
Which leaves us with the ultimate choice. When the bear goes out the window, what will you do? For the financially uneducated folks stuck on the left side of the quadrant, it will be a tragedy. But for the entrepreneurs standing on the edge of the coin, a crash actually presents the greatest wealth-building opportunity in history. It all comes down to whether you are willing to engage your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual intelligence to prepare yourself today. So, will you be ready? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.